Hey everybody, Kristin Thomas. Great to be back. It's July 1st. I hope everyone is well. Excited once again to be interviewing, actually probably someone I've interviewed with the most followers after 50 interviews. Wow, this is somebody who's super excited to talk to. We interview all kinds of interesting people in the world of stand-up paddleboarding and paddling in general, and today is really special. Supconnect, thank you for letting me do this. My name is Kristin Thomas, and we are going to be talking to Baxter in Hawaii today. And Connor is a name I hope all of you know, and if you don't, you should. And so much to talk about because such a history for such a young man, but also so many new things going on. Boy, has he been busy in so many respects during the pandemic, which I'm super excited to share. So remember, this is live now. Feel free to ask questions. We're so glad you're here with us, but also tell your friends they can watch it recorded. It immediately goes to IGTV, and then it will be on Supconnect's YouTube as well as mine, KT Outside. So without further ado, actually, I'm going to ask a question. Who knows what his first sport was that he competed in and how old he was? Try that one. See if any of you know that ahead of time. Let's get sure, because I think this is going to be a packed hour. They don't always go an hour, but boy, I have lots of questions for him. Hello from Brazil. Hello from Hawaii.
How's it going, guys? How are you?
Thank you, Connor, so much for doing this. Mahalo, really appreciate it. I know you are a busy guy. So much to talk about that's happened in your life in the last couple of years, but also you've been around the sport as young as you are, longer than anyone, pretty much. So that's amazing too, all the history that you have in so many ways. But I'm going to start with, some people are guessing it.
Yeah.
They know
I
what
heard
your
the
first sport
question.
was.
I
Yeah.
heard the question.
So even before stand-up paddleboarding, what was that first sport that you were active in? And you were young.
Yeah, windsurfing was the one that kind of took me around the world, and it was kind of that first initial stoke for the ocean, that speed, the glide, and then that was, of course, on the front of my dad's board. So that was like at 5 years old, 4 years old. I just got that stoke on a real early age. So I was like, I want to do this sport. Even though I was dabbling in surfing, obviously here in Hawaii, that's very much the young kids going on the longboard. Like I have already taken my son at 15 months on the front of the longboard. So it's like
Saw those
part of the culture.
pictures.
You gotta you gotta do it. But yeah, windsurfing was a very fun sport. Got to travel international and compete for it at a young age, and then started that connection with Starboard, which then shifted into SUP.
And that's amazing too, that you've had a relationship with Starboard for so long and that it
Correct.
was even before stand-up paddleboarding. But let's back
Yeah.
up. So family, you've got a windsurfing family. Your
Yep.
your parents are amazing, Karen and I can't remember your dad's name.
Keith.
Great
Yeah.
family. Yeah. And that's really cool. Your Maui boys and Talia, there was a girl. I remember seeing a birthday party picture, I think, from when you guys were all maybe 5 or something
Yeah.
or 7.
Definitely.
So amazing. And a lot of you had parents, maybe all of you, who had that love of ocean already, who were
Correct.
windsurfers or surfers and were on Maui for that reason, because it really is truly a mecca and has
Yeah.
really been a mecca for stand-up paddleboarding.
It really
Definitely.
is, and it's funny you say that too, because a lot of the parents and all my friends, even if they're specifically Kane Daly, Baker, these guys that are specifically just into surfing now, their parents actually moved to Maui for windsurfing. It was the mecca of the place. Obviously, Zane's parents being here and his grandparents being here, the creators of windsurfing, and then obviously Zane's dad, I don't even know, 25-time or whatever it is, world champion in his craft there. So yeah, there was a lot of roots in history in windsurfing, and that kind of a lot of our sparks. Kai, myself, Zane, and I think there was a handful of us that kind of just adopted. Hey, it's no wind in the morning. Let's go surf. Wind's up. You can't do anything now. Let's not sit around. Let's go keep on, in the water and having fun with the friends.
Yeah. So stand up, when did that kind of come in? When did you see it first, or did you
Yeah.
just jump on it with somebody just playing around with a paddle,
Pretty
surfing in the
much, it,
morning?
it almost happened like that. I mean, basically, what it was Laird Hamilton doing his cross trading, and that was back in, I want to say, when I was like 11 or even a little bit younger, 10, 10, 11. So still really into windsurfing. And obviously at that time I had it pretty down. I was jumping over waves, catching waves, doing loops, all of that. So then to see Laird doing this on the cross training level where there's no waves, going upwind, downwind, and then surfing some waves on these bigger boards, my dad's like, oh, you should try it. It's going to be something. So of course, tried it, but I was just on a huge longboard, one of my dad's ones that I could stand on. He cut a kayak, so it was an aluminum paddle. He cut it in half and then got a T-top. So it got it and glued it, but every time I dropped it, it sank. So it was not because it wasn't properly sealed. So it wasn't like the most amazing experience. And I was like, okay, it's cool, it's interesting, it's different. But I could go on a short board or I could go windsurfing and be going faster, higher. And, you know, at that age, you were just wanting to have as much fun as possible.
Yeah.
So it was kind of there on the back burners, but it wasn't until like 14 years old when it got a little more serious. The downwind side of it came, and that I was really enjoying because there was no swell and there was no surf to even windsurf, and flat water windsurfing in Maui, we were always looking for the waves. So we got that sensation of gliding downwind. And that kind of just took the ball for me. And it was like, okay, this is something to do, you know, add it to the list. And especially at 14, then doing some races, training with obviously some of the legends of the sport, Dave Kalama, Jeremy Riggs, Mark Rapport, Livio, all the guys that got it going here, Andrea, Scott, all these people. And, you know, chasing them obviously brought me to a higher level, won some races, the Maui to Molokai at a pretty young age when I was like, okay, I just made some money, whereas windsurfing, I was still in the junior divisions. Like the adults obviously were light years ahead. And that was properly to do with obviously time and new sport. I was able to adapt to stand up real quick. But once that happened, it was like, okay, let's shift the mentality here, you know, making some prize money. You're able to do some different events, different locations, you know, it was mixing up the scene. All the friends kind of were on the same page as far as Zane, Kai, all these people. So it was a pretty easy, natural transition.
Yeah, I had never really looked at everybody's timeline, but did all of you guys kind of do it at the same time? And what an interesting thought that an established sport like windsurfing, as good as you were still a junior, and there were still these other people who'd been doing it for 30 or 40 years or whatever, you know, 20 to 40 years. So to be first in a sport, to win that Molokai-to-Oahu so young and so early, that was an overall win. That wasn't a junior's win. That's very interesting.
And my bad too. I might have said it or might have not, but it was Maui to Molokai. So that a little bit different, but still it was, you know, 27 miles, 3 hours, better downwinder, more fun actually. So
I want to do that one.
It was my first race, you know, that Rodney put on, and, you know, that really got the stoke and the fire burning for me. And from there, it, you know, just was like, okay, let's see what's international. And then that was when California was lighting up. And before that, it was more for windsurfing. It was always to Asia, Europe. So that was a big trip, always far travel. So to hop over to California was super easy for, you know, obviously back then, 2008, 2009, the biggest paddleboard event was the Battle of the Paddle. And that was, you know, a humbling experience, obviously, being introduced to the surf race, but also another spark, you know, like, wow, we're like surfing in and out of the race. There's so much technicality to it. There's first to last, last to first. This is exciting. This is what I want to do. And obviously down to the pier and back for the long distance was not as exciting because I was used to doing that downwinder. So that was another niche that I was kind of finding. And, you know, obviously that has gone in and evolved and kind of stayed fairly similar, maybe shorter courses, but to the PPGs and the APPs and all the events that we do worldwide, the Pan American Games.
So before we leave and just totally focus on stand-up, you were one of the youngest to surf big waves. So I think people sometimes don't know that about you or don't, I mean, and again, as you said, you guys were just it's like what the weather was led you in a different direction.
That was our backyard.
Yeah, but weren't you the youngest ever to do Jaws, I think?
Yeah, I was one of the youngest to windsurf it. So some of the guys were obviously now, of course, everyone's pushing the limit as far as towing and paddling. But at the time, I was one of the youngest kids to windsurf Piahi. And that was a session with, you know, Kai Lenny, there's Graham Ezzy, some older guys too. But Graham, Kai, and myself were like the Groms at the time. And yeah, it was a pretty massive day considering how big I was and how old we were. So, but it was really fun. And that's something that's same thing in our backyard. Piahi's been there, Jaws, a wave breaking that We went up on the cliff with our parents. We went on the boat to watch it in the channel at a small age. So it was something that was inevitable. And that has also transitioned now to same as Zane and Kai, where we can stand up, we can paddle, we can surf it, we've towed it, we've tried kind of all the different crafts, pick our favorite one basically.
Which is just amazing. And I love that aspect of what you guys do. And it seems you go different places in the world where I feel like certain aspects of water sports are snubbed and people are very elitist, but it seems maybe not so, but it sure seems like everyone's really open to whether you're outrigger, whatever, we're on the water. We love the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to just be single craft.
I think also the pandemic has really washed those borders a little bit away too, because now we're all having fun, you know, everyone realizes it. It is here in Maui, definitely you have the known people that don't like it and they're only this way, you know, only shortboarding. But for the mass majority of people, we're always adapting. Like as soon as the wing came, as soon as the foil came, it wasn't just, you know, Kai and Zane and, you know, the Spencer brothers. It was the whole community of Maui, like, oh, let's try. Now here in Maui, we have one of the, you know, you go to the harbor and everyone learning, there's 40 guys out, 50 guys out trying to learn, or they're good, or you got the Pritchard's kids that are jumping over everybody. So it's a really cool vibe on this island for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we'll talk a little bit more about the island life and pandemic. And I mean, there's such a history there of being nervous about disease, and closures and all, but still want to talk more. So besides having amazing parents, you have created a beautiful family in the last couple of years. So catch everybody up if they don't know about your beautiful wife and son and when that's all happened. He's over 1 already, isn't he? Correct. Hey, I saw a birthday.
March 3rd, or March 5th, sorry, he was born. And it was a week later maybe in 2020 when the whole island went on shutdown, and you know, we all started that whole thing, which we all know about. But it was good. I mean, beforehand, I mean, we were in nesting mode anyway, so when everything shut down, we were already stocked up on toilet paper and food, so we're good. We were all set. No, but it was perfect timing. We had tickets booked when he was 2 months old to go to the event, the Salt Life Cup in Columbus, Georgia, come home for a little bit. He was going to be 4 months when we were heading over to Europe for the Euro Tour and APP event. So we weren't really planning on changing much, and we were just allowing him to adapt. But the fact that we got to stay home, which, you know, talking about traveling at a young age, it hasn't stopped. It's only gotten more and more and more. So it's been 10 to 12 years that I haven't been home in one spot for probably this long. Yeah. So it's been like, wow, okay, that's one great thing. And then on top, having a kid was like, boom, okay, now we can kind of get the hang of this, learn how to be parents. Her parents are 5 minutes away. Mine are like 15 minutes away. So we had a lot of support, a lot of love. And it's just been on the island. We've been, for the most part, pretty sheltered in low numbers and pretty much getting fresh air and being allowed to be active and on the water, you know. So it's a silver lining of the whole thing. And now he's 15 months old. Last Father's Day, we got to share a bunch of fun waves. He was launching over. I think he liked launching over the waves better, but he at least got to go back out, because before we can even finish the line or the wave, you know, he would point back out to the lineup. So we're like, okay, let's go. And oh my gosh, I love that. So it's already stoked, is already there. He's already finding that and kind of building. Well, a little cutie, and congrats. And really good points about, I'm so glad for you that it was a real positive to be spending time with him, and for you for a reset, because that was going to be a question, like, was it good after such an intense, like you said, 10 to 12 years of just being go, 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 to actually have a break? So how are you feeling now about racing in the future, and are you re-energized? Yeah, great question. No, I'm totally energized. It's like also too, just being a little smarter, I think has helped age, having a kid. I'm really excited to do the races I want to do, which before it was like, let's do all the races. And we all know SUP, and in the high season, when we're back and going, there's a race every weekend in a different country. So, and that's from 200 meters to whatever it is, 120 something miles at the SUP 11 city tour. So you have a lot of options. There's a lot of divisions. There's a lot of categories. And the fact now I'm just like really focusing on the sprinting side, the technical side, and then the distance obviously will be fun. And if it's downwind, I don't care how long it is, we're going downwind. So let's go for it. And that's a really exciting part about that. And it took a little time to stop, reset as well, you know, to figure that kind of stuff out.
Well, and I love that you did, though. I think you were one of the first athletes I heard kind of claim it, like, I'm a
Yeah,
sprinter, because we
yeah,
have been asking all of you at the top level to do everything really
yeah.
well. And that's really doesn't make sense when you think of
No,
track in the Olympics. You're not going to
no,
do the marathon and the 100-meter dash, but
no.
we ask you guys to do that.
Yeah, Michael Phelps is not doing triathlons and the sprints. You know, he has
Yeah,
his
yeah.
strokes and his distances, and that's it. And it's okay to like evolve around that kind of
Hmm.
bubble. But yeah, no, it's been, you know,
But
in
I,
Chicago was the first event where I was like, no, I'm not doing the distance race, which I've never done. I'm always the guy to sign up for every division and try to crush it out and try not only just, you know, do the race. It's I'm going there to win it. So there's mental energy, there's physical training, preparation that goes into that, and it's really hard to balance all of it for sure. Once, and especially now, the sport's getting more legitimate. When we're just having fun, I guess you would say, but back in those days, it was fun, and we were all training in the same similar way for a mass variety of races. But now it's gotten more specific, which makes it more fun,
yeah.
more appealing, more exciting. Now there's way closer distances between everybody, and it's making the sport more legitimate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for being a part of building all that. Well, before there's so much to talk about
Yeah,
what's happening now and you and training and equipment, but we can't go without talking about some highlights of your racing career. So we could go on and on about wins. I think you still have the longest streak for M2O of SUP wins
yeah,
all in a row.
yeah,
PPGs. There's just so many. I visualize you jumping over the line at an Molokai or
yeah.
throwing your paddle and jumping in. I forgot what race that was, but you've had
There's a
many,
few.
many successes. Do you have maybe some favorites?
Favorites for sure. I think those Molokai or Maui to Molokai ones are very special in the sense that it started at a young age, and it's was, you know, in that thick of the traveling, the international by myself, young age. That was the one event that I got to come home to, and it was my sister on the boat, my dad on the boat, my mom on the boat, and they were handing me my new camel packs. You know, they were cheering
Hmm.
me on to the end. So that was a really special event, and to win it with them there obviously adds to that. Um, I'd say now, looking current time, ooh, that Pan Am's would be hard to beat. The Pan Am's, just as an experience, was top of the line. Even if I didn't go down there and win it, I think it was just marching with 600 American
Yeah.
athletes, and then, you know, all the other countries going to in a football stadium and seeing this huge live performance, and you know what we watch on TV for the Olympics, to being a part of that, and then being a part of the first, obviously too, is the first ever, and then coming home with the gold was pretty special for sure.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, that's a good time maybe to jump in on you are one of the few paddlers who's really done everything from the different series and the APPs and World Series.
Oh yeah,
Also, you've done ISAs, Pan Ams, as well as ICFs. And again, there's a leadership there and a role that you've played in helping others. Because one thing I feel is just watching all of this and
yeah,
supporting all of you is nobody should be cut off from anything. It's a bit of a confusing time. We had the whole this thing at an international level that
yeah.
felt out of a lot of our controls. But nobody should be telling anybody what you can and can't do. And I love that you've been able to and have stepped up and done all of those. So thank you for that. I hope we can continue in that direction. Do you have some things you're really looking forward to about that? Or how are you feeling about where we are in that
Yeah, I think
stand
you
up
hit it
world?
on the nail for sure. I mean, I don't think anybody should be cut off. Everyone, in a sense, has, you know, put in a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of, you know, experience, a lot of preparation, planning. So the fact that these people are willing to do that for our cause, to grow a sport, to whatever, take it to the Olympics, to
Hmm.
keep it here for future generations, I think that's incredible, right? And we're at such a young age in the sport, I think, in a grand scheme of it, that
We
there's
are.
still so much potential for it to go, then why not give everybody the opportunity? If they're all chasing for us, we have something special, right? Like they're all wanting stand-up paddling to fill in surfing blanks or canoe blanks or whatever it may be. So I think that's really cool. And the fact that they're going to put some money into our sport, hopefully grow it on an international level, why not support everybody? If they're putting on events, let's go for it. Not to be like, oh no, you only do this, like, nah, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I think each one has some beauties of it. You know, the 200 meters, something special. It's exciting. It's has some history to it, especially coming from a canoe federation that's been doing this for 100+ years. And then you got the technical and surf race side of it, which, you know, that's part of the thing I was telling you about that I love, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
exciting. I think, you know, on a Olympic scale, it's going to be a hard one in the sense that, you know, there's so many variables where the 200 meters is pretty straightforward, just paddle hard, right? But I think that's really cool too. And the fact that we could fill in the blanks or the lay days for surfers that are not optimal days and still put on a performance for spectators and the surfers, for instance, even at Pan Am's, is pretty cool to do, I think. So those have their ability to, you know, their strong suits. So why not support them? And, you know, it's both things that I enjoy doing. So I'll continue to do that for sure. This year, looking really, really forward to the ICF event. They've been building it up. Hungary is an amazing place. The location is absolutely stunning. I think, you know, they're going to legitimate everything we talked about and wanted to work on from China.
Yeah.
And they're going to put those and implement those, and we'll see how they can do. And knowing how they did there and having those little tips and tricks and the timing too, you know, they've had a lot of time to prepare and, you know, cross their I's and or dot their I's and cross their T's. So it's going to be super fun to see what they do.
Yeah, I think it is exciting and interesting that it's registration actually opened today,
There you
and
go.
it's open
Gotta
to
get signed
everyone.
up. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they already have you signed up since you are a returning champion. But they, you know, it's open to everybody, but they're going to do country some points for the first time, which will be
Correct.
interesting. And I think kind of adds to that fun piece of it. Kind of not exactly what Pan Am Games gave, because that was so legit that you were with all the different sports.
Correct.
But again, those who kind of question Olympics, that's what a lot of us think is just such the beautiful part of Olympics is when you do start, you can be racing for your country as well as for yourself, but also
Yep.
just be super stoked for the guy next door from another country, because
Yeah.
that's, you know, it's just a, it's, to me it's such a bonding thing, and in a great way, even though it sounds like, you know, it would be butting heads. It's not. I mean,
No,
just
it's not. It's like, yeah, when you get the ISA or those kind of world champion events together, yeah, obviously we're racing and butting heads during the race, but it's the vibe and the atmosphere before, leading up, after. You have all these amazing people from around the world all coming for the same cause. It's because we love to paddle, we want to race, and we want to support our country and, you know, hear that national anthem play at the end of the day. So I think that's a really cool aspect to it, and the fact that, yeah, we can all enter and go and show up and support, and you know, get our first international stamp in the books, right, for 2021, at least for me.
yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
be really fun.
Yeah, excited, and I'm excited to see you there. I'm part of
Oh
the
yeah,
race organizing team, which,
awesome.
and again, the number of people behind it, because they do it the way they do their events, is it's this huge team, and we have like 30 volunteers already doing
Yep.
so many little things that they feel aren't perfect yet, and yet it's so different and better in a lot of ways, and we're used to really just low key stuff. So
That's what I
it's
mean.
gonna
Yeah, that's
it's going to be an
uh,
amazing event. So anybody out there, you're all welcome to go. There's two masters divisions, junior division open. You know, they're trying to make a downwind out of that distance.
yeah.
Whether,
Hey,
you
if
know,
that happens and it's going, hey, maybe I'll have a late night entry.
yeah, that's right. You might have to add in. But we also, I saw the APP announced to Hawaii, like back-to-back stops. Did you see that? Yeah, I didn't even see which island or anything, but that's cool.
Yeah, that
Um,
was a little like we were trying to plan, and we had heard wind, maybe some events in Europe, maybe this, maybe that, but just with all the restrictions and everything, yeah, they changed it to Hawaii, and wow, that was really exciting. Not to mention that it's sounding like all the different stops of it, it'll be 4 different events, are sounding pretty incredible if it all lines up. It's going to be Maliko, and hopefully a sprint at Hokipa again. That's the for sure. We were wanting that. And we would do the Molokai run, so just down to Kanaha, which I believe is like 6.5, 7 miles, maybe a little bit over, depending what beach they exactly choose, but not all the way to Kahului Harbor. Uh,
nice.
yeah, with the 14s, it's nice. Like for that Kahului Harbor run, you really want to rudder to kind of work your way out and get a nice lineup. Always doable, but So we'll see if that all happens and pans out. It would be super incredible.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we're still crossing our fingers. There's still so many hurdles, but hopefully both the APP and the ICF will be something exciting happening in 21, because I know
Yeah.
some have had to push off. And along those lines, I remember you talking a couple of years ago about, which I loved, kind of the Hawaii races were kind of coming together in July, and there's kind of going to be so that people could plan, like, come over here and you can do
Totally.
2 or 3 races. Is
Yeah.
that maybe going to happen by next year? Because I know most, at least of the big ones that I've seen, I have my
Yeah.
virtual shirt on from
There you
Molokai
go.
last year. I just did the half.
Yeah.
So some are offering both. I think some are offering you some live, but they're not quite ready for tons of visitors to be coming in. So the virtual options.
Totally.
But I love that you guys were starting to link it together.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
that's,
it was kind of just talking to everybody. It wasn't official, but that was kind of the plan of it. I was just talking to all the event organizers for the Molokai-2-Oahu, the guys that do the paddling Mua, the Maui to Molokai, and just be as simple as, yeah, let's make a few divisions. We'll try to get some sponsors maybe together and put a little,
mhm.
like, even $100 on, first, second, and third, so we have some motivation. And also linking up, probably, since it's been the more popular side of the foiling is the downwind, is doing the first ever kind of downwind tour as well, because all of those events we're planning on having a foil division. So it would have been
Great.
awesome, and it still is obviously a
Mhm.
plan. Talking with them basically was the only thing we really didn't decide, other than yeah, everyone was game for it, was should the elite division be on 14 or unlimited. So that was the only kind of deciding factor. So easy kind of stuff, and if we can, make a big decision there and get all the athletes on the same page, all the paddlers wanting to do the same thing, would be incredible.
Well, well, I hope that works out, because I think I'd love to see that Hawaii series, because that's starting to happen. There's been a lot of behind the scenes work, and let's get ourselves organized, because we are such a young sport. And so there's a Midwest region, an East Coast region, and a Southern Stoke series. And we'd
Totally.
love to see that Hawaii series in 2022. So
Yeah, that's the plan.
hopefully that, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, if an APP continues and has a successful event, who knows? They'll maybe coming back here for one stop at least, even, and that
Mhm.
could be a great way to qualify for a World Tour event. And then at the end of those events, you qualify yourself, or you get yourself a wild card, and then you can participate in the APP World Tour.
Yeah, sounds great. Beginning to end. Love all of that. So, racing for you this year, we talked about those two things, the APP tour. It's at
Yep.
home, so at least 2 of those events, but it sounds like you're going to be able to travel.
Yes, as things
September,
lift and get easier,
yeah.
obviously planning on, going to Hungary, and then over there the Grand Canaries in Paris, and then we have Location X for the finals for the APP, which is to be decided. But the last time they did that was way back for a surf event, and we went down to the BVI, all had our own personal sailboats, and we had it living for sure. So we'll see if they can live up to that. That was pretty much
Wow.
all-time high, but they always do a good job with Location X. So
Yeah.
we'll see how
Yeah.
that works, and that would be super fun to see where we go. And then first event, though, probably to dust off the cobwebs, would be Hood River. So
Yay.
coming up
Oh,
for
good.
the Gorge Paddle Challenge, of course. That's was kind of like an optional event, just because of how things were maybe going, if I was going to have to quarantine, and if I wanted to do Euro Tour events. But everything has kind of cleaned itself up. Calendar's looking good, and going to be out there for that event now.
Great. I just love that event. Love that town and area and everything.
Uh,
It's
it's
more about the
it's
whole
it's
week
on the
leading up.
calendar. You just like
Yep.
hit the repeat. It's always going to be on the calendar, and if we're able to make it, we try to bring the whole fam, and it's that's the
Oh,
plan.
good, good. Well, I will see you there also. Definitely driving up to that one. But I want to get into, we've already had quite a few questions here. I mean, you um, have always been such a great teacher of stand up, and we've had things named after you, the Connor Baxter stroke, and
Yeah,
but you've done a lot lately, and I'm really interested, and other people are, in your training, not only for yourself, but you're on a new platform. But let's talk
right.
about your training. You have some really cool um, patches and the breathing apparatus and really, really cool things, because you're at the top of your sport. So I think you wrote in a post that 1%, how do you get better? The
Yeah,
mental stuff, the HAP-B. I mean, there's,
all kinds of different levels
yeah,
to
share
get it
some of those
back.
things that are kind of newish and exciting.
For sure. I think, like you were saying, that 1% gains, like I've been working with my paddle coach now, Larry Kane, and he's just incredible. But on a science level of when to, perform, and I want to be training and building up. And, I have my A priority races that I need to win or want to win, and other races that I have to choose, like I want to perform, but I don't necessarily need to win because it gets so high at that level, and you need to be at that 100%, 120% when you show up to the events you want to nail. So Larry has just been a huge factor in that. And then also working with some coaches over here, gym wise, which I haven't done a ton of. I think 2019 was the first year I had a taste of it. 2020 was kind of gearing up for another solid one, and then everything shut down and then baby came, so I was like, okay, I can put on a dad bod, it's all right. And this year, another solid year in the gym over there at Deep Relief, so that's been really cool. But then there's that other aspect. Okay, I still have a little more free time here, a little free time there. What can I do to perform a little bit better even if I'm not on the water, or help me train at a maximum effort so I could really be in the right heart rate zones and ready to crush tomorrow's workout, even though I'm really sore today. And those are little devices and mental things. I think meditation is a great free option for that. Breath work, free option for that. Those kind of things are really great to utilize. And there's all kinds of different techniques and nose breathing and different patterns and things. So kind of find what's comfortable for you, and who there's people that you follow that you might be more interested in. But you were talking about devices too, and there's one called an AeroFit, and that's just a respiratory training device. So it restricts airflow. And so when you're not running or exercising, you're more following a circle breathing pattern, or an inhale strengthening pattern, or an exhale strengthening pattern. And that is training our respiratory, our lungs and diaphragm, which is a muscle, off the field, right? In a way more controlled environment as well. So it's the kind of, I would say, functional fitness side for your cardio system and your whole muscular system or respiratory system, that you're following these patterns. And yeah, exactly. You have low restriction, and you can make it a little harder, a little harder, a little harder, and kind of grow in that sense.
That sounds super interesting.
Yeah, AeroFit. I can, if you follow me, or we can try to get somehow for sure. The other one that you were saying, the Happy, that one is more technical and more, you would have to really try it to see the benefits. But it's something I guess the military and NASA has been performing, but they're, and utilizing for their people, but on a way too expensive platform. And this guy's brought it more at an affordable rate, and it's simple as just wearing it on your neck, and it's sending different signals to your brain to simulate what a cup of coffee would do. Or if you had the right amount of melatonin and all these different things in your body, what it would signal to your brain to kind of start mellowing out for night. And same on the calm side, to relax the muscles, if you would take a muscle relaxative. Like all these different signals your body receives after taking a supplement or taking something, that signal to your brain that allows your body to do that, it's copying that pattern and sending it to your brain. So it's just a wearable device, and it's something I'll use to before training, during training, to kind of get some more mental clarity, to find that extra edge, or to mainly rest at night and to get ready for night. That's been the big thing I've been working on, and that's free as well, right?
Yeah,
get as much sleep as possible and the right fuel.
That sounds really fascinating. Also, I mean, both of those things I think are next level kind of. That's cool that you're right on the cutting edge with trying some of those things.
Exactly.
There was
field.
a couple questions here. We'll get to the speed one later, but asking what your diet's like. You're a pretty healthy eater, I'm pretty sure.
For sure. Diet is definitely something I've probably the first thing I really took a hold of. Even the training side of things, like it was more just go paddle, go have fun, and there was some structure to it. But the food side of it, I picked up on a young age, just because it was pretty clean and simple, and in the sense like, hey, I need to have more energy. I'm not feeling good, or I'm not bulking up, or whatever it may be. And as far as things I eat, I try to keep it pretty simple, right? I mean, I eat carbs, I eat all the stuff that you would want. Carbs are a great fuel source, but just trying to get the highest quality, right? Not a ton of pasta. I try to find it more in sweet potato and those things, and even like rice and and even regular potato, they're more in the nightshade family, so they have a little more inflammation, which we're already creating in our body from paddling, working out in the gym, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, protein. I'm always loading up on protein, and I do eat meat, but same thing, high quality. I try to look for organic, grass-fed. Here in Maui, we're really spoiled. Right up the road, we have a local butcher that all the cattle is grown here on Maui, grazing on grass. That's it. It's nothing more, plain and simple than nature. And same
Nice.
with their chickens, same with their pig, and the venison's all fair game, so it's all wild caught, and that's the meat source I also like kind of rely on. Traveling, kind of, obviously be pick and choose. I'm not going and buying the biggest steak at the restaurant necessarily unless I know where it's coming from. Kind of one of those things, support your causes, right? But other than that, get your good veggies, keep it simple. Something I've played around with is, if I'm doing more distance and base work, I'm doing more fats, a lot more fats, avocado, coconut oil, avocado oil, really introducing that kind of stuff because it's a better fuel. And then when I'm doing more sprinting, that kind of work in the surf race or even just in and out, I'll be doing a lot of carbs just because it's that fast burning fuel. You need a ton of it. You're going to be using a lot of it, burning a lot of calories. So
Yeah.
that's something you guys can play around with, and it's interesting to see what your body does and how it reacts.
Love it. Great advice. And so there is that whole the health, nutrition, and diet. But you do, like a lot, like most athletes, I think, use some supplemental stuff around that sports nutrition about the being ready for the race and having the right balance, the recovery, fueling yourself during a race. So do you have any products or advice or things you use in terms of hydration and all that?
Yeah, I mean, the big one I've been working with right now is Vital Protein and Vital Performance. They've really, same thing, the guy, the CEO or the creator of it, was all into science and for NASA. So he was trying to create fuel and, actually getting properly food in a little package up there because they're not, it's not always steak, filet mignon, barbecue up there. So he came from that side of the world, and now he's utilizing all that knowledge with collagen. They're using a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different things in their performance side, like creatine for muscle gain and muscle recovery, cognitive, focus, obviously, with that. But way cleaner, way healthier, all NSF, I believe, which is for the WADA. If we're an athlete that wants or is on a watch list or getting drug tested, you got to
Mm.
be really careful on the supplements you take. So the ones they make it Thorne, Vital, all these guys make it real simple. They put a label, it's clean. You don't have to worry about it. And for the most part, everything's pretty clean. But at the end of the day, if you're getting tested on a high level, you want to make sure absolutely right. So they've been really cool. Vital Protein, those guys, they have everything from bars, collagen, hydration, electrolytes, immune side of things, beauty side of things. They're pretty on top of their game.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, I'm going to jump over now to equipment because we've mentioned Starboard already, but paddle, I think, is Salt Life still one of
Um,
your.
yep, Salt Life and Starboard are my main burners right there. Those guys are keeping the dream alive. I'm so grateful for them. Of course, on a special note too, with the fin, it's something I've worked with windsurfing, and it does come down to little things like that, making it easier, glide better. And Black Project's been at the top of the game. They're windsurfing side of things and SUP things, so they
Mm,
understand how foils and the lightness and every little speck of the fin makes a huge difference depending what you want to do, how you want to perform that day. So each of their fin has a specific reason. So they've been really fun to work with as well. And same thing, helping me keep that little guy fed. The guy eats a lot, so gotta keep food on the table, right?
he doesn't look like he'd be a big eater. He's tall and long like you
Just
are,
like just like mom and dad, but yeah, he can put it down just like dad as well.
I love that. Um, Joseph Silva asks, "What is the fastest you have paddled? What's your top speed?
Ooh, well, we
Do you
did
know?"
do a little virtual race back in
Oh yeah.
2020, and I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, we were going in a 50-meter sprint, and I was like I don't know in kilometers, but I believe 12.4 was my max
Wow.
on going in there. Obviously, that was we were in a controlled environment, flat water, little current possibly, but that was all out going as fast as I could. Yeah. And then the kid from Japan was right there. They're in kilometers. So I want to say it was 20 or something, but we were both right on that cusp of like beating each other out. And it was pretty exciting, but that's a fast speed for sure. That was probably one of the fastest on
Yeah,
flat water. When we go downwind here in Hawaii, we can get up into the 16-mile range, you know,
I'll
big
bet. Yeah.
swell or outer reefs are breaking in the wintertime and you're catching a downwind swell and you connect it into a wave on the outer reef, you're getting some max speed and almost get bucked off sometimes. So those are two of the fun experiences.
But it is amazing when you have your stroke going and how you get on top of the water, like, and get it up to such a speed. So let's see, which starboard, I should know my starboard boards, would you be using to go the fastest? The sprint?
The sprint right now is what I'm going to be training on and looking forward to for the Hungary event. In China, for instance, for that 200-meter sprint, I was on an all-star, and it's just kind of it's a different vibe, right? It's the sprint has that more cutting edge, more glide to it, so I'm going to have to play around and find the fine balance of it. And the all-star is if you can kind of get it up on top of the surface and hold it there, it's the fastest board. There's no question about it, but it requires the most amount of energy. So you have to find that balance of efficiency and speed. And I think with the sprint, you're really finding that balance there.
Yeah, yeah. Big issues, definitely. So again, I was lucky enough to have at least one clinic workshop with you. I forget what SUP the Mag called that. There's some little thing in Dana Point.
Correct.
And you've definitely explained such things in such an interesting way, which I think it's all about. I mean, I've been doing this for 11 years myself, but I still love going to clinics because I always hear something different that makes me think a little differently about how I do something. So if you were to give somebody getting into SUP racing, or I bet a bunch of people listening would love, what are some tips for SUP racing?
So, I mean, the big thing would be just, dialing your equipment in, obviously. But if you're looking at just maximizing your performance and kind of maybe my big thing that I've been working on is efficiency. So just looking at your stroke, if you can film it, great. That's amazing, obviously. But it's everyone's with the catch and the release. The timing is just so key. So really playing around with that. And what I mean by that is really trying to bury your blade 100% before you start pulling back, and try to release it at your toes instead of your heels. I think that's one common problem I've run into myself, especially when fatigue sets into place, is that I'll stab the water, but I'm already pulling the blade back that by the time it's fully submerged, I've already lost a big distance of area where I could have really maximized my stroke. So the stroke's almost over, and now I got 100% of the blade in the surface of the water. And then I'm pulling past my heel, so now I'm sucking my board down to the water when I should be releasing there and letting the board kind of hop up and glide in between strokes, you know, like if you're pedaling a bicycle or running, a little more similar, you know, that in between of stride. You want to have that glide. So releasing the paddle a little bit earlier and trying to dive your blade a little bit harder. So with that top hand, think about loading that arm, loading that lat first, and then pulling backwards. Or even better, try to think about pulling your hips forward to your hand.
Yeah, another great way of looking at it. Oh, those are excellent tips. Excellent. And I'm excited to go get on the water and work on those things.
A couple times. But
yeah, because there was a lot in there, definitely a lot. But I forgot to ask you, you're on a new platform as a coach, which looks cool because it's other sports too, right?
Correct. Yeah, they're known and really in the race car scene. So you'll have all the camera angles in the car, and they'll be actually coaching them through turns and different ways of, I guess, utilizing all the buttons they have in their car. They do soccer. Zane's been doing some hydrofoiling and SUP surfing with them. And yeah, Zane kind of passed it along, and it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy in the sense you send in a one clip. We can work on a little tactic, little technique, and then you can kind of either go on from there, do another session like that, or you can subscribe and be on it for a longer period of time. It's something that kept me busy during, you know, the pandemic when we weren't traveling. And
yeah, cool. And what is that called for anybody who wants to look into it?
Blaze Coaching.
Blaze Coaching.
Yeah, BLAZYED coaching.
With a Y in there. Okay.
With a Y in there.
Yeah. Well, we do have a Facebook group, so I can add that kind of information
For sure. And
afterwards for
anybody
people
can
to,
feel free to
yeah.
reach out as well to either
Yeah,
one.
yeah. In fact, if you wouldn't mind, if you can send me the names of all the different things that you've talked about, your different,
Apparatuses.
apparatuses and
That's what we
nutrition
call them.
and all
Yeah.
of that. All fantastic stuff. So, gosh, you've been at water sports for your whole life
Yeah.
and stand-up paddling for over 12.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the first race was 14 years old. So yeah, now turning 27 this year. So
You're going to be 27.
yeah.
Younger than my children. Actually, I have one younger than you.
Okay.
Can relate, although I'm not a grandma, so I'm jealous of Karen. I wish I was at that point. But is there anything you'd say to yourself that you know now, like looking back in that retrospective, like kind of lessons learned or what a
Definitely.
ride it's been?
I think yeah, definitely. I think the one actually lesson that I'm trying to learn and teach myself that I wish I would have started on earlier would definitely be I'm not my results. I think
Mm.
in any sport you really get, and at a young age, that's what we're looking for, right? You're looking for, I want to be the champion of the world. I want to be the best, especially growing up with that kind of mentality. It would have been great to be like, you're not your results. You can just go out there, you can win it and be at the top of the world, or you can lose and learn from it. And those are kind of the big things for sure.
Yeah. There was another question sent in by a fan. Susie was asking about maybe a high and a low and what you learned from them. So along the way, was there any point in time where something was really good or really didn't go well that you learned
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, I would say the high would be that one year that I won the distance race and the technical at PPG, and then went straight up to San Fran, won the Red Bull Heavy Water, which solidified the world title as well.
Wow.
So it was like a bang, bang,
Woo.
bang. Sponsors were happy. I was happy. That would definitely have been one of the highs for sure. Low would have been, I would say, in the last year or two of trying to find myself in paddling, like we were talking about in the beginning of, I have to do another distance race. I got to do this race here. Like I was really at a low of like not wanting to compete anymore because of the races I didn't want to necessarily do, or the ones that I had to perform in but didn't want to perform in, kind of thing. Whereas even in those moments when the Pan Am showed up, or the sprints in Paris, or these key little events that I was excited about, I went there and won them. The mindset was there, the hunger was there. Obviously, the years of paddling and all of that training have set in place. So that would have been the low. But now with a year off, what great timing, like we talked about, to really let those soak in. And those lessons are now going to be implemented going forward.
That's great. Well, we've talked about a lot, but there's so much more in all your history and all your racing. You've traveled a ton. You started early, I guess, with windsurfing even. You were traveling.
Right.
So, are there still places you would love to paddle or travel to?
Actually going to be crossing one of those off this year. I mean, Hungary is a country I've never been. That Eastern European realm I haven't really experienced too much of. So really excited to kind of go over there. We're going to spend week in Budapest. The family's coming, so let's get adapted, right? 12-hour time difference. So we're going to go over early, experience some of that, try to get on the river right there as well, and then over to the lake, which looks stunning as well. So that would be a really cool one to cross off the bucket list, and excited about that.
That's great. How about surfing? Is there some wave somewhere that you haven't hit yet that's on the list?
It seems, yeah, I mean, the one that just keeps on popping up would be that left at Skeleton Bay in Africa, that left beach break. It looks scary, but obviously just goofy footed, long barrel. You can't really compete against that, right?
Cool. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to look at clips of that one. I don't know that
Skeleton
one
Bay,
well.
yeah. Yeah.
Can you say you have a favorite part of stand-up paddling? Is there a favorite?
Favorite part, honestly, in which during this pandemic was a real clear answer to that, was the community. Like I didn't realize how close I was to everybody because we saw each other, right? Like you don't really realize what you have until you don't have. And the year off of not seeing the Caspers, luckily Arthur made it over here a little bit, but seeing the Michaels, the Brunos, the Daniels, and all these, the Itzel, like all the kids and athletes we compete against, and all the spectators and fans, and even the amateurs that are not even amateurs. They're elite paddlers. They're following along and doing all these big events as well, you know. So those people, that the familiar faces, the community, I think that's the best part. That's all, obviously why we're still in it, right? Like the people of the sport, in the sport, and keeping the fire and stoke going.
Yeah. So I can't believe that it comes up in every interview, community, because it really is. We do
Yeah,
have a really cool
and we
community.
do. We do.
Yeah. I was asked the question, is it cool people who get into stand up in water sports, or is it being on the water that turns you into a cool person?
I think a little bit of both. I think there is some cool people that have entered, but how can you not? Like, you want to get in the water on a scientifical level to
Yep.
just what you're feeling of the negative ions and all the stuff in the water. There's actual happiness to be in the water and with friends laughing. And what's funnier than, some friends wiping out or trolling or eating it on a wave or tipping over or seeing a shark or. So those kind of things keep us young.
Keeping us young, yes. That's funny to come from a 26, almost 27-year-old. But yes.
Got to keep that
Yes.
mentality. I'm gonna
Yes,
stay on it.
absolutely.
My dad's
Those of
71.
us more than twice your age, we try. Your dad
Yeah, my
too, huh?
dad's 71, and he's just picked up winging, so he's down at the harbor winging,
That is
and
awesome.
still has the mentality I do. So it's awesome to see that in full effect.
Yeah. A couple more questions. Well, you definitely have some invitations, like come to Argentina. People want to tell you where to go. But was there an Molokai and from Christy in Canada? Did you win again? Did they have one?
They haven't. No,
Mm.
unfortunately, I think they've shifted on. I think with 2019, they kind of were taking a break, and then obviously everything that happened, it just kind of faded away. Hopefully, we see a return of it, and like we said, maybe even return in a month of July, and we have
Yeah. Well,
stop every weekend a fun race where it's a 6 mile, 10 mile, 27, 32. Hey, can't beat that.
if we can help, maybe we can do a campaign to get that back. That's one I never got to do. But
Yeah,
as you were kind of forming the idea that, oh, July is the month to come, it's like, oh, you could go over and do a couple. I've never done an M to M. I want to do that one too.
yeah,
But yeah, next
it would
next
be
July,
amazing.
maybe we can get Olokai back too.
We'll see.
Um,
Fingers crossed.
yeah. So much, and again, so much more we could talk about. But I think we hit major points. Anything else you
Awesome.
wanted to share about life or thank yous or
No, I mean, yeah, just big thanks to you guys and all the social media houses of magazines, social media, blogs. I mean, you guys have really kept us all connected. You guys have all kept the dream going, and in the lows. So now that we are seeing everything open back up, let's really support everybody watching this, everybody that was a paddler, is a paddler, has a friend that's a
mhm.
paddler. Now that everything is back up, let's sign up for the Hood River events. Let's sign up for that virtual event, even though it doesn't seem that cool or whatever it is. Let's sign up for those events, support the cause, and really
Yeah.
build this strong foundation, which we had. We had a really strong one, and it plateaued, but we can now build even a bigger one, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Some places are building back, like Southern California, where we used to have so many races. We're working on getting it back. But
Totally.
we also didn't talk about, but there's this whole new community of outdoor enthusiasts, and they sold out on paddle boards. They may mostly be on inflatables, nothing wrong with that now, but I think we're going to get some of those people feeding in. So it's kind of
Totally.
exciting. I think we're going to start seeing new people coming to racing.
I agree. I really do. So, and yeah, like you said, even if it's inflatable, it's just get that stoke, get the ball rolling, and then yeah, we'll see. Now that, I mean, here in high tech and local shops, they were sold out of boards and still are sold out of SUP boards. So it's
Yeah.
it's coming back alive. Obviously, everyone's realizing the importance of getting in the water. You don't need to
Mhm.
do, these big gathering things to, get exercises. You can hit the water by yourself. You can hit the water with friends. We're still safe, and yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you're amazing, Connor Baxter. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. And you've got a big fan base out there. Remember, this is recorded, everybody. So tell your friends who didn't get to hear it, and they can go to right away on IGTV or find it on YouTube.
For sure.
which I know you a lot. There's lots of other great Connor Baxter stuff on YouTube, videos, you know, how-tos and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
appreciate your time. So happy for you and so happy for us that you're still excited about SUP, but your
Yeah.
life and wife and son and everything, just exciting stuff. Glad that you're able to pull it all together, and what a lot of great information you shared too, and ideas.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to
No,
go look at some of those things.
for sure. No, I'll make sure to share it on my page as well. You guys are the best, always keeping everyone updated. Appreciate that. And you especially on the back end, always doing us favors, always helping us out and keeping the dream alive for a lot of us. So thanks to all the guys that tuned in live. And yeah, we'll definitely be sharing this, hopefully rewatching it as well, and go from there.
Yeah. Mahalo. Thank you so much.
Aloha, guys. Take
Really
care.
enjoyed it. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.